Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm forcing myself out the house. I didn't leave yesterday. Yesterday I felt the real lethargy is the word, lethargy that came with still fighting off this flu. It was all congestion, all fatigue. I needed to sleep and I knew it. And I prayed about it. I told myself to listen to my body, so that's what I did. I did a lot of art yesterday. Finally got back to the art thing though. I made about, I'd say 14 pieces yesterday. Most of them pretty good. One of them is a duplicate. And the funny thing is I made it like an hour and a half apart. Didn't realize I was doing the same thing over and again. That's never happened before either, but it's some very subtle differences, but it's pretty much the same damn piece. I was shocked. I didn't realize it at all until I had a chance to look at them both next to each other. I'm like, damn, I did the same piece twice. So that was just one of those weird artistic moments. I can't even explain it. Same colors, same scheme, same everything, dots in the same spots, just slightly different colors, maybe one or two different colors. Just not something I intended to do, not something I actually appreciate very much, but I was rusty, man. That's what it really came down to. I hadn't done any art in like, since I had gotten sick. So yesterday I got back to it, besides the art on the playlist that I made, which was okay, I mean, but I didn't count it. So yesterday was the first real art day. Dedicated some of my day to it, did it twice, 2 stints, once before I went to sleep and after it. And to be honest with you, I feel a little better today, but not 100%, man. I woke up still pretty congested. Those push-ups are a drag. I can tell you one thing that is real, my mind is not sharp as it pertains to doing the exercise. It feels like more of a mental drag than it's ever felt to do the things that I love to do with physically for my exercise. That feels like more of a mental drag, so I'm trying to push through that, especially as it pertains to these push-ups. It's like, damn, I got to do them again. It's that kind of thing. I never felt like that before I got sick. So I'm just trying to push through that, man. I told myself I would probably have my strength back by tomorrow, but judging by how it's going, what I didn't take into account is the lungs and how my breathing is different because of all this congestion and the flu itself. It's still draining out. It's not all the way out of my body, and I can definitely feel that fatigue every time I do anything. So it's just frustrating, man. I find myself breathing through my mouth more than my nose. So I don't know. This flu is lingering. It's not gone. That's what I'm here to tell you guys. It's not gone, but I'm fighting it still. I'm still eating healthy, you know. And the pain of it all is behind me, but the fatigue and all of that is still in place. The desire to sleep more, that's still in place. So I don't know how much that has to do with age as well. But I'm fighting it. I'm out here, man. And there's plenty to talk about. Honestly, there's a lot going on, and I'm going to make videos for everything. But I want to send condolences to those who've lost people over the last couple of days. O.J. Simpson passed away this morning or last night, I'm not sure when. And Mr. C, DJ Mr. C, passed away yesterday. And look, man, these are 2 black men who've been drugged through the mud for their alleged transgressions. Nobody mentioning Mr. C's transgressions on the internet lately. I think that's really cool, to be honest with you, because it's very easy to turn to that, because it was a real stint where that was all people wanted to talk about when it came to him. That's how I was introduced to him, to be honest with you, was through some difficulties in his life and how people didn't take well to what he was dealing with. I don't want to bring up the specifics of it. I actually appreciate no one did, but that they did in the past, and now I'm seeing a lot of love shown to him. There's a lot of ways there's 2 ways in my mind you can take that. You can call it fake love, or you could call it decency. I think it's somewhere in between the 2. One side of people are the same people who was condemning him for his actions, are the same people who are saying he's the greatest thing right now. It's kind of fake, but I prefer people be decent in circumstances like this rather than to bring up all the transgressions and talk about what went wrong or what have you. So his circumstances happened in a time where people were not as tolerant, and I think if he would have went through some of those things today, he probably would have had a much different response from the world. But ultimately, he lived his life as a real contributor to hip-hop, and I will acknowledge that. So that's what I want to say. Rest in peace to Mr. C. And then there's OJ. OJ, we all know what OJ was accused of. We all know how it looked. A lot of people think he was guilty. A lot of people think he was innocent. I fell along the side of, I was too young to really understand, but I felt like based on my mom, my lovely mother, being friends with OJ, I had an inside track on his character that maybe most people didn't have. My mom was his friend back in the 70s, the end of high school and throughout college. My mom was very close to OJ, very close. Al Cowlings, the person who drove the Bronco, that was my mom's ex-boyfriend of 3 years. She knew it was Al Cowlings before anybody said it was, because she knew the back of his head. You feel me? That kind of thing. She saw the car. She was like, that ain't OJ, that's AC. And she said she wasn't surprised because that's who he would call in anytime anything went wrong. And I know that's somebody who's hurting right now. But, it's one of those situations where my mother told me she felt, and I probably said this on camera more than once, she felt OJ didn't necessarily do the killing, but she believed, or through her own speculation and her knowing of OJ in the past, that he knew who did it, and they probably were doing it to get it either at him or something that had something to do with him. And her attitude was, if you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. And OJ had ventured away from from his real friends once he got into the NFL, started getting in those environments where drugs was found, where status was about being around people that weren't people like who he grew up around, and he fell into that in a real way. And she said that it was his ego, in her opinion, and his arrogance that made it so that he would make statements as if everybody's supposed to understand that he was innocent, when the reality was no one really knew. And it was strictly ego that would make him write a book called If I Had Done It, or something like that, whatever the name of his book was. He toyed with that because he was so certain that not only was he innocent, but that he was OJ. And everybody loved OJ, you know what I mean? He had really bought into that in her mind. So that was her take on OJ, that he had a certain thing about him that made it so that he could not acknowledge what was in front of him as it pertains to people saying he was guilty and believing he was guilty. It's like a certain denial that she felt he was in and made it so that he would not acknowledge that. So I don't know. She didn't know him when all of this was going on, though. She had lost touch with him before I was born. So the person that she knew may not have been the person he became, and that kind of thing. So who knows? But my mother knew him very well, man. From San Francisco, Potrero Hill. She came down to a lot of his games at USC. They were friends during that time. Tight. Like, I got seen pictures of him. And the one time I was watching Hard Copy way back in the 90s, back in the day. That's like a show that came on after Entertainment Tonight. I believe that's what it was called, Hard Copy. And it was during the time of the trial and all of that. And I was watching it, and they flashed a picture on the screen, and my mom was standing right next to him back in the 70s. I mean, like a zoom in, you could clearly see it was my mom, and my mom was cracking up. We saw it. She was like, baby, come to the screen. Look, they got your mama up here. Sure enough, that's what it was. I've seen many pictures with them together, so it was tight. It was part of the same clique, you know what I mean? Like, that's how close they were during the end of high school. And they went to Galileo High together, and they hung out. It was her, him, AC, a few others. That was the clique. So that's how close my mom was to O.J. Simpson before he got to the NFL. And she would, as I said, come down to LA for a couple of his USC games and stuff like that. And my mom was kind of getting into the entertainment business at the same time. So like, she had business down here. So she kind of ran the same circles with him before I was born. After he had made it, that kind of thing, but not too much from what I understand. So yeah, man, that's what it is. I have a personal connection to O.J. Simpson. I don't know him myself. I don't believe that I ever met him. I'm pretty certain I didn't. But my mom talked about him all throughout me growing up, before Nicole and the other gentlemen were murdered. my mom would talk about OJ all the time. You know what I mean? So when he was accused of that, and when that whole thing went down, it was like the biggest thing in the world to my mom. Like, it was the biggest thing in the world, period, at the time. But, you know, we found out about it. We were coming back from watching the movie Hook, a Peter Pan rendition done by who was in that movie? The great Robin Williams was in that movie. One of my favorite movies as a child. Rufio, Rufio, Rufio. We had just come back from seeing that movie, and that was when AC was driving the vehicle. I think that was that day. I don't think that was the day they were killed. I think it was like 5 days after that. I don't remember, but that's what I remember about that situation, is just how we got news of either it happening after coming out of that movie or the Bronco situation after that movie. I don't remember. This was way back in 93, 95, somewhere in there. Probably like 93 or so. I don't remember. But yeah, man. So it's just one of those situations where you look up and you see those two African-American men who had been drugged through the mud by America for their transgressions, passing away a day after one another, or even the same day. I think Mr. C might have died yesterday morning. OJ might have died yesterday night. It's just, that's an interesting thing to me. That's a very interesting thing to me. And you look at what's going on with a lot of stuff that's happening. You look at Puffy and all that, what he's going through, and you think about how his fall from grace and all of that. It's just that time, it's a lot, man. And yeah, man, just gotta, especially if you're African American, you gotta respect that your transgressions are gonna be especially entertaining for the world if you get caught and you're famous. And I hate to put it that way, because it ain't simply entertainment, it's promoted as entertainment, but they love seeing you fall, man. There's something about watching a cocky black man who has the world handed to him, or earns it, however he gets it, with a certain level of unapologetic energy, whether they like him or not. It's something about America enjoying watching him fall, bro. I don't know if it has to do with the brash nature of his ego being on display, coupled with the sheer notion that we were descendants of slaves, and a lot of the country believes we should be in our place one way or another, that we shouldn't be so cocky, or whatever the word would be. But if that person happens to be a sicko, if that person happens to be doing things he has no business doing, watching him fall is going to be something that America enjoys a lot. It's going to be something that the people behind the curtain invest a great deal in promoting as it happens. White men do the same thing, and it may not be as big of a story. But if it's a black dude, specifically a talented, unapologetic, charismatic, or loud mouth, as they call it, if you don't have a certain level of tuck your tail between your legs, they're gonna love watching you fall, man. And so that's what I say to anybody who's watching me now. If you happen to be that, if you fall into that, and you got some transgressions, it's time to exercise those demons before the world find out about them. Because if they find out about them, believe me, they got a formula. They've been doing this for a long time. They will make folly of your fall. It's just the truth, man. Especially if you are connected to a white woman. I'm just being real with you. If you're married to a white woman, or if you've been dating nothing but white women, or whatever the case may be, they will take you down, and they will have a good time doing it for anything that you do wrong, bro. Especially if it's some sicko sex stuff. You're gonna fall, and you're gonna fall hard. I've been watching this my whole life, bro. I'm almost 40, and I've been watching this my whole life. They've been doing this to black dudes, many of whom I could say were not innocent. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. But we're watching it again with Puffy, man. We saw it with OJ. Mr. C is an entirely different situation. That's not how that went, but again, keep your house in order if you're a black man, especially if you are connected to white women. Period. And so that's what I want to say about that, man. Rest in peace to everybody who's lost their lives, bro. Bereavement is a real thing. My cousin's sister, she's not directly related to me, but she is directly related to my aunt's kids. Their sister lost their mom. So I want to say condolences to Candace, my little cousin who lost her mom a couple of days ago. I don't know Candace very well. I only met her maybe once or twice. I never met her mother, but I've watched their family, that family over there, and that go through a lot, man, a whole lot. And Candace's father is the father of my cousins. That's my uncle. Got a lot of love for him. Watched him go through some tough stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot going on, but I tell you, man, I got a lot of love for the Kelly family. And every time I went to Oakland to spend time with the Kellys, it felt like home. I spent the night over there many times at their grandmother and grandfather's house in Oakland. And so when I think of Candace, I think of how she's a direct Kelly. She's a direct Kelly. She's from that line of family. And so for me, even though I'm not blood related to them, I spent so much time with them when I was a child, and spending time at their house, spending the night over there. Just about every time I go over there, I find myself over there at their house. It's always something real when tragedy hits their family. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say, man. It's just been a lot of grief. I spoke to my Aunt Cecilia yesterday, and she was telling me how tough it was. It was cancer, and the lady decided she did not want treatment, so she suffered a lot. And so I know me and my Aunt C just went through this, as it is. My mother passed away on the 30th of March, so we're going through the anniversary of my mother's pass with cancer. And then a week later, or 2 weeks later, this tragedy hits her kids. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it's a lot of that going on. She too lost my cousin, her son, way back in 1996, around the same week that my mom passed. I think it's his birthday. I think that's how that went. I think my mom's passing date and Andrew's birth date are like 2 days apart or something like that. So this has been a real tough time over there for them. And so this is just added to it. But that's how real it is, man. God is taking people home, man. We gotta get our lives in order. We gotta get our souls in order, whatever your circumstance is. It's so much of this going on in this short flurry. For me, I'm just looking around saying, man, I gotta take care of my health. I was thinking that as I was doing my squats. It's like, if I adhere to the fatigue, mental and physical fatigue, the body goes the other way. If you're not fighting through it as it pertains to making yourself eat right and exercise and all of that, believe me, your body, especially when you hit 39, 40 plus, it's going the other way. You're going to feel more fatigue. You're going to feel less healthy, and it's just going to continue to beget more mental laziness or what have you. It just gets harder from here. So it's like, I don't know the long-term effects of the lungs going through what it just went through with the flu, but what I can say is I'm trying my best to find the energy I have. Maybe I get it back. Maybe it's never going to be as strong as it was before I got sick, but I'm definitely working toward getting my strength back. I tell you, I feel like that thing probably took a couple years off my life, the way it felt physically, literally. But we just keep pushing forward, man, and hope that the conditioning comes back around with the effort. But I have no interest in shriveling up, you know what I mean, and dying. I want to live young. I want to feel good. I haven't had a family yet, even though I'm later in life. Don't know if it'll happen, but the energy needs to be there for things that haven't been done yet. And so I'm not interested in letting my body go the other way just because I feel physically tired, and that's why I'm walking around right now. I could easily be in bed today, but that's going to get me wanting to be in bed tomorrow. And next week, I'm going to feel like that for 3 days out of the week. And it's not going to work for me. So yeah, man, take care of your health, fight against that mental fatigue, fight against these conditionings of the mind that allow for us to eat poorly and lay down and sit down, and consumerism that doesn't sell us anything but poison. Get that out of your lives and put forth more of an investment into your long-term health is what I would suggest. Let yourself live a little bit, man, because we don't know when our ticket's gonna get punched. But I can guarantee you that you heighten the chances of it being punched sooner by not doing the work necessary. Take care of yourself. So that's what I can say for certain, man. And so that's pretty much what I want to say, man. That is pretty much the end of this video. I appreciate everybody for watching BDF 44. I know.